Um, cool. So while we are still working on, midterm assignment, which will be due next Wednesday, and you will do a showcase. At the same time, any questions on the midterm assignment?
I did notice on Gradescope it said due is Friday.
Okay, yeah, that's a mistake. I mean, I keep tracking Grayscope, but I make so many mistakes. Midterm assignment. Okay, it was due too soon. Okay, let me change it for now. Otherwise, I will forget. Due day next Wednesday. Cool. Nice. So no late assignment, no late submission, so make sure to submit it. And as you probably have noticed, you can actually submit and update it again and again before the deadline. So just submit something, whatever you have submitted, and then later, if you have new version, then upload it. Again, open-ended, whatever you like. Music visualizer, so it should be self-explaining. There should be some music. But other than that, whatever music you like, whatever genre, even experimental music, whatever. Pure noise is also fine, if you like that. But anyway, you want to build a visualizer for that. The only requirement is, one of the three, two of the three concepts. But hopefully, if your project is interesting enough, likely you will look into some of these. Sound library is likely what you will need mostly. Analysis part is the key. But whatever you like, or you could also even grab a GitHub repository to do some cool stuff. The only, the only requirement is that you have to specify whatever code you are doing. So reference citation, perhaps, if it's like a paper publication. But anyway, links to those GitHub repository, but also specify which part was done with that repository, what's something you added or what's something you've experimented. Um, you will store it as a MP4 file, likely just use Room to record, like probably the easiest way. But anyway, you will have a live demo in class. Oh, and also try to provide as many, not as many, like as clear as possible comment for the code. Cool. What else? Live demo next Wednesday. 5 minutes. What's the concept of your design? How did you implement your desired features? What's the most challenging part? What's something you like to add or simplify if you give it more time? 5 minutes should be good enough. Demo what you build and talk about these. Um, and be sure to come to class. Otherwise, there's no live demo. Cool. So at the same time, now today we will jump into Max MSP today. Um, cool. So you've all have Max coming up. So, and likely you will soon notice there's very steep learning curve on Max. So that's my experience the same. The first time you open Max, it's like, what the heck? It's like just um totally different stuff than when we talk about. So Max is a very different thing. So Max is basically you can think about like a graphical way of programming, but it's more sound and signal based. So has anyone used LabVIEW? Likely not. Anyway, it's a W thing. But anyway, there's like signal. You have like signal generator, you do stuff, and then you can see what the signal is. But in Max is sort of similar. You will have some, signal generator to generate some sounds, and all the way at the end, you plug it into your speakers, and then you will have the sounds out. So this is like a, can I stop? Anyway, so this is like what your, not this. This is what your Max patch will be like, and you can actually turn it into a display mode where you are live performance. So you don't see all these routes. So Max is actually, um, a way, a different way of thinking about, making music or, coding. So this is actually where Macs come from, kind of. So this is like an analog synthesizer. If you're interested in those, we actually have some in our control room. Likely not the very old school analog one. But they have a deep, history actually in Detroit. But anyway, so Moog is actually, I think, funded somewhere around this area. But anyway, analog synthesizer, where you basically have, like generator, and you can plug, these chords so that you can do, feedback loop. You could do low pass filter, all of those, analog synthesizers. So after these things, there's actually some internal, filters or some signal processing or chips or device or even, tubes to control or change the signals. And all the way at the end, you will plug it into some speakers so that you listen to it. So, Max, you could think about it, why it looked like that. It's basically something like this. You want to have the full flexibility of grabbing all these cords and connecting to different places. And these are signals. Think about it like the music flow from each single output gate to another place. And so there's like a lot of like signal flows into this patch and chords. So that's essentially what, Max is trying to do. So in this figure, is sort of show that, you have something that's generating stuff, and then you route it into different parts. And at the end, you want to connect it to the speaker. That's essentially why Max look like that. So this is a different way as we talk about in processing. So in processing, we are line by line typing stuff. So code, is actually line by line. But now in Max, it's sort of like, think about it more like a waterfall things where you generate the signals, you will have multiple signal generator, and those signals will just keep shooting some signals out, and they will flow through all these pipes and cords, and then all the way until they reach the output, the speakers. So you can think about it like where there's some electricity flow, signal, water, something flowing within these cords. So that's the difference between the two, paradigm of coding, especially useful in live coding. So this is another mode of Max. So once you define this, you can actually hide some of these, things that's not, that useful in the live performance case. So once you have this is sort of like, all the details, programming part, how you connect those, how you compute stuff, but you can actually turn it into like a nice interface. So this is also what Max nails in, where it can just turn it into, so this is sort of like the pad you see on the station. So you like a virtual version of that. You could also have like a virtual key here, virtual keyboard. You could also have this like ASDR. So this is sort of like a, in Do you have that, and this is like a button. So you can also have knobs. So it's sort of like a, digitized version of what you have on those, what you have on real synthesizer, real keyboards. Try to digitalize this into this big thing. Cool. So there's a lot more to look at in these things. But the core idea of Max, to start with, it's just a bunch of different stuff. So you will have a bunch of different objects, and the idea is that you just connect those. So this is like a sequencer. So you could think about this could be like the drum kits. So this will be hi-hat. Later we will see this. It's like hi-hat, I don't know, maybe cymbal, hi-hat, snare drum, and drum. So you can just create like a drum pattern by clicking these so that they become a drum machine. Or, in this case, it's just like click this button, it will generate a random number timestamp. So random number between 1 to 5, it generate a 4. Plus 10, you get 14. So you can just connect these things. So this is rather than, line by line, saying something like X equal random 5, and then do something like x plot equal 10, and then you print x. So this thing is basically doing this, but by adding that button thing is that whenever you trigger this, you press this, it will just start this computation automatically. It's like a flow that just go through the things and as fast as possible whenever you click it. So it now becomes sort of like still it will be compiled into line by line code, but at least on the interface level, it now more like like an interactive or live signal like way of coding. You could also connect a bunch of UI objects. So, these are choosing different waveform shape. This is like a slider. This is like a knob. There's a lot more. Like this is like the sequencer. This is like a button. So there's so many different buttons we will look into. But anyway, I guess one of the idea you can look into of Max is that Max is crazy complicated. There's a steep learning curve, as you will soon realize, but hopefully we will get started with the simple stuff. But there's tons of stuff that you could build with Max. That's a little bit different from processing. It's like processing is sort of limited, but it's good to start with. But Max is like full potential in day one, and then it's a real pain when you want to start working on it. You can actually connect Max with all the physical devices. So once you plug it in, you could add MIDI in, you could send, OSC message, we will see later. But you can actually connect with all these physical device. I think there's something. There's some sound going on here, but the sound is not coming out. Let me see. There, no. Oh. Nice. So this is like I guess max patch you can do. But this is another kind of like UI you can do. So this is like the web version of Max. Usually it's kind of hard to actually implement this. Max is trying to recently, they're developing like Cycling 74 is trying to do something better for web. But for now, it's mostly still standalone. But basically, you can see that this is like an XY pad where, sort of similar to processing where you have mouse X, mouse Y, and you map it to the frequency, basically. Anyway, this is something kind of like the first Max 101. But something, we won't touch in this class is that you can actually use something called JIT, J-I-T. I guess there's also something that we should coming back to this. Let me see where we have that. Let me see. Anyway, there's also a part of Max where you can actually do visual stuff, which is a little bit tricky in Max. So as we just discussed a little bit, there are different language for different purpose, and Max is more like coming from the audio sound community. Oh, you likely want to sign in. We will be using the station because we only have 30-day free trial. So you should save it for final project. You just log in with your SSL and you should be able to use Max. Cool. What I just talked about? Yeah, so Max. Cool. Anyway, another thing is about some history of Max. So Max is actually its previous it started with something called pure data. So this is pure data. So pure data is actually when it gets started. So pure data is something kind of like similar to Max, just that it's like open source, but it's less maintained. It's still actively maintained, just that it's a different kinds of things for Max. So Max now is a commercial product. That's why we have to pay, and you can only access it in this room. You get like 30-day free trial, but it's a huge effort to maintain this. But it actually started with pure data, but it's sort of this similar thing. So pure data was created a long time ago, but that's the first time when people think about, well, what does programming means for sound? It's like, well, you can always just do, synthesizer in Python, but it doesn't really make sense to some of us working on, if you want to generate sounds live on stage, what does that mean? So we also have like C sound, writing C code for sound generation. But at the same time, can we have this like real time, more like a signal based understanding of making the programming language for music and sound? So that's essentially what Pure Data tried to do. So, sort of similar to what we have, you will have some, button that you can click, and it will generate some signals, and those signals will be computed, going through filters, doing some feedback, all the way until you plug it into like this DAC. So DAC is digital audio converter. So you turn digital signals into analog signal, and then this will connect to your speakers and you hear the sound. So this is sort of the way how they do it. And Pure Data and Max is also still based on C, where even though the interface looks like this, but in the end, it's some C code app behind that. But anyway, it will be much easier to code in this case. Cool. And as I said, Max is a little bit tricky. Max is technically, so, I mean, we talk about Max MSP. You might wondering what MSP means. So Max is actually the language, and it has like three components. I forgot what the last component is, but Max and Max MSP. MSP is the music and audio module, but mostly that's the biggest chunk of Max. And jitter is the other chunk of Max. So sometimes we will write something like Max MSP and then slash jitter. It's a little bit tricky because these three programs are actually three different community-based programs, and at the end, programming language, and at the end, they merge into Max. So Max is like the overarching language controlling each different, sub community. And MSC is for sound and music. Jitter is more for the visual and live, visual generation. But anyway, they both sort of like live in Max. So some terminology issue. But anyway, Max has, if you see Max MSP, then usually it's about audio and music. Max with jitter, then it's more like touch designer where you have all the visual part. So you can also create jitter. I myself don't really also know a lot about jitter. But basically, you can use Max to generate sounds, but at the same time, you could also generate some, visual at the same time using jitter. But that's something we won't touch on in this class. We've done processing mostly for visual. So at the end of this course, we will be looking at how you can connect Max MSP to processing rather than using jitter. Jitter is another story. So, if you're interested, I don't think we have a course on that. But anyway, I mean, maybe visual arts, they talk about touch designer. Did they? Stamps, maybe. I think there's some lecture or, some one. Actually, I think Kira, who's managing our studio, she sometimes offer a class on touch designer. So if you're interested, that's also possible. But anyway, visual is not the big topic in this class, but I mean, visual part of Max, jitter specifically. Um, Anyway, there's also a lot of things that you can work with Max that you can connect to the real world, as they say. So you can actually connect with a lot of like embedded system. That's where Max actually started to be very interesting and impactful. You can connect to all those, Arduino, Raspberry Pi to send signals to Max. It's not too tricky to do that. You could connect through Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. Basically, you just send some OSC, which is open sound control signals. But basically, it's very simple. You can send something. We will see later in class, almost at the end of the class. Now, still have to know what Max is doing. Cool. Yeah, I started with trying Max for 30 days, kind of funny. This is a company, Cycling 74. So it's now commercialized. I'm looking for the one that talk about Appleton Life, actually. Oh, yeah. It's in a different page. So, one of the most interesting way to use Max is actually running Max in Appleton Life. So this is on Max page for Max for Life. So you can actually turn a Max patch. We call it a patch when we call it. So like in processing, we have Scratch. So this is like a patch, and you can actually turn this into an Appleton plugin. So this plugin, you can double click it, and it's actually a Max plugin. So this again, at the back, you see this mono things. This is actually like in Appleton. But once you have Max for Life, you can actually create this using Max to create a plugin where you have, some inputs. This is the, inputs, and these are the outputs. So you can send it so that you have all these inputs. So you sort of like create a digital, plugin using Max. A lot more, basically. There's also another web page from the Appleton side, which is different, a little bit different. But basically, on the Appleton side, you can also see how, Max could be plugging into Max, into Appleton Live. So there's a lot of like pre-built-in. If you have Appleton Live, again, another commercial product, but you could also design your Max patch for Appleton Live. Anyway, I won't. Cool. So some examples, these are all developed in Max, but you sort of have the Max Appleton Live shape. So these things are actually, in Appleton Live. Either you want to, compose something using certain sounds you want to generate in Max, because Max give you the full potential of generating, specific sounds that's, more interesting rather than, existing tones that you can find on Appleton Live. Cool. So that's hopefully that. There's one additional thing. Yeah, anyway, you can actually also connect Max into JavaScript, Node.js, C, C++, Java. I guess the latest one is Gen. It can actually just anyway, I mean, some of these are still, ongoing. So you can also make it JavaScript. So the one that we see that it's, web embedded is from JavaScript. Node.js, same for a web, C, C++. Of course, everything is written in C. Gen is another thing that they are pushing hard recently. I don't exactly know what it is, but I believe it's something that you can actually compile and onto different device so that you will have a Raspberry Pi that Max can become a program on Raspberry Pi rather than Raspberry Pi. You need to install Max on Raspberry Pi so that it can run the patch. But now we compile a Max patch into a standalone program on different device so that you can directly execute it. So that's one thing they are still working hard on. Cool. So download Max. We've downloaded. Actually, we didn't download it. So when you want to do it, it should be self-explain. Once you download it, it will just download it. And license happened after that. So sort of like Adobe, you have to log in or whatever. But after you download it, after you install it, then you have to license it. Free trial for 30 days. Max is actually written in C++ using Juice. So, that sort of different from processing. Processing is Java based. So C and C++ is still the go-to language for anything you want to be real time and sound relevant, because we have C sound, basically a C library for sound. So lots of all the synthesizer you see on the line, the bottom of language is still C mostly. Suppose only Mac OS and Windows, sadly. Cool. We could get started. So once you open it, it usually show up this, Max console, and you will be wondering like, this doesn't look like anything we just saw. So Max console is actually sort of like the processing console at the bottom. So it's sort of like a text-based controlling place where you see all the outputs. But for now, we likely won't use a lot of those. Let me also open my Max now. Cool. The handout will be on these things will be on the website, so you can download these. Mostly just a lot of screenshot. I will also share this Max patch to you so that you can explore, and some of the homework you basically want to copy paste to solve it. Otherwise, sometimes it's really tricky. So you see this Max patch. So now you can just click File, New Patcher, or Control N. Cool. So once you click that, you get this. Each Max version, they will just sort of redesign the whole color theme, so you can actually change it if you like. So as you can see that this is a totally different color theme. So this is the default theme in Max 8, but now we are in Max 9. Every year, I think they will get a new one. You can actually change the theme. Where's that? Okay, I think I know it somewhere. Well, somehow I couldn't find it. Oh, options. Yeah, preference. So when you click on this preference, you could actually change this theme if you don't like this. Anyway. Um, anyway, so this is like a default thing. So one thing in Max, one of the most confusing thing is that at the bottom left, there's a lock and unlock thing. So this is likely one thing that will be very confusing at the beginning when you started with Max. So when you lock, everything will not be editable. You can only click on those interactive stuff. So you want it to be in unlock mode. And so once you see, if you click lock, all these components will be gone. You cannot use those. But if you click unlock, then you can access those. Actually, I probably need to change my sharing. Otherwise, my neck will broke. Let me reshare. Um, where am I? Cool. Cool. So the shortcut is Control E, so Command E, likely on Mac. So once you press that, look at the top, it will just gray out. So you just click Control E. So you want it to be something that you can play with. So now you can click a button so that you get a button. So this is something, now you can move it around, but you cannot click it, nothing happened. But now if you press Control E again, now you lock it. Now if you press this, now it becomes a button that you can interact with. So this is one of the first thing that you might encounter in Macs. Like it's kind of unintuitive, but over the time you will see what's going on. Okay, cool. So we would just move on this. There's a bunch of things that we could look into. On the top navigation bar, there's a bunch of stuff: object, message, command, toggle, button, number, sliders. So we could just go over and see what are those. Um, Buttons. So toggle versus button. Hopefully self-explain. So button is like whenever you click it, it will send something like a trigger. We will see later, but this is like you can send something. Toggle is like it will stay there. So it's like a 0, and then you click it, it become 1, and then stay for 1, and then it will become 0. So this is more like a switch. This is like a button. There's a bunch of stuff. Yeah. Let me see what else you got. There's a bunch of different stuff. I guess more interestingly are the sliders. So this is like actually I should just zoom in rather than making it bigger. So this is like a slider. You can, slide it. So you can imagine this could be, different UI for that. You can also turn it into horizontal. There's also knob, which is just a different way of, slider. They technically are doing the same thing. So you can also turn it into this. Snap is a little bit tricky to work with because when you click it, you want to do up and down. So it's not actually turning the knob, it's actually up and down. So this is a little bit tricky. So it's not like you go this way to turn the knob. It's actually up and down to turn the knob. That's one thing to notice. There's a bunch more, but we could just look at those. GAN is a little bit different from slider, but GAN is basically DB based. It will have this stripe. There is also, keyboard. But technically, if you want to play a keyboard, this is likely not the way you do it. But it's good for visualization, as we will see later. You can actually connect your MIDI keyboard to these things, and it will show what's being played. So it's a very good way to visualize it rather than, actually having someone to click on it, unless you have a touch screen, but that's a different story. There's a bunch of different stuff, but this pitch slider is also interesting. As we just saw it, the synthesizer thing we saw on the website, where this is like a XY pad, basically. So you could also, do we have XY pad there? Nope. Anyway, XY pad is also something, very useful. Basically you will get an XY value in this case. Cool. There's a lot of more you could look into, but we will go over those over time. But these are some of the oh, this is also this is not working. Cool. Where's my slide? Cool. Oh, there's also this like end slider thing. So to show it into like but I couldn't find it. Where is it? Oh, here. So you could also, use a pitch like a notation based thing. But again, this is likely not something you wanna input, but more like a visualization of whatever, your MIDI keyboard is playing. So it's more like a visualization things. So these things are not just for controlling like getting inputs to the model. It could also be visualizing, as we will see later. Cool. Cool. So some survival things, Control Shift H for help. So Shift, Command Shift H, Command Shift R for reference, Command Shift A for align. Align will be likely one thing that you will use again and again. So it would actually auto align stuff. So think about, this things and this thing, they doesn't really align. You could do Control Shift A, they will align automatically. It will actually detect where they are. So in this case, it will be horizontally aligned. So it's sometimes very nice because whenever you want to, link between these stuff, so this is how you link stuff. So, you could also have this thing to connect to this. So, oftentimes from time to time, it will become messy. You will link a lot of different stuff. So you can just grab those and Control Shift A to align them. So these are some of the, survival things. Oh, I was doing it wrongly. So I actually have a max patch to start with. Anyway, totally forgot about that. Let me see where we have it. Cool. So this is the things. Let me So these are some of the things that we have. Toggle, as we said, it would just say 1 or 0 button. It's like you can click it. You could also have numbers where all the value things here, number, integer. This is like with a dot, it's like a float number. This is like a signal. We will talk about the signal later. Signal is a little bit trickier to look at. But anyway, number, you could also, you click it and then you move up and down to change its number. Flow is the same. So flow is also interesting where, 58 point something, you could click on the digit to change the value. This is something very tricky. So if you click on 5 and you pull it down, it will change, the value of the integer. But if you click on this place, it will change the first digit. And click on this, it will change the second digit. So you can actually do fine-grained control on these. Anyway, comment is basically doing nothing. It's just, for you to provide command rather than, slash, double slash in processing. This is a message. We will see it later. This is object. So object is anything with these, border. This will be the key. Later we will see this cycle theme basically just generate the sound. Cool. So we can actually just do something here. Cycle, it take a, look at it, take a frequency. So let's just grab this thing. Actually, we can grab this to cycle. So let's say we want it to be, I don't know, 440. You can also click it and type to get the sound. And if you look at the other one, yeah, face. So the output. So now one thing interesting is that, go to interface, audio, not audio, where it is. Where is the deck? Oh, I don't think it's here. Can we find it here? Okay, cannot find it here. But basically you can do N and then easy deck. So this, oh, okay. Once again, you press N, you will start a new object. So this is an object. You press N and then easy deck. So this is basically easy DAC. So the things that we just saw again and again is DAC tilde, but this is easy deck. Once you hit enter with easy deck tilde, it will become this, speaker basically. So now basically we're done. Once you connected, it might have some sound once you have a band. So this band things, you can connect it to this. Oops.
And for cycle, is it the cycle hyphen or the regular cycle? Like I hit N and.
Likely cycle hyphen.
Okay.
Anything with hyphen is a signal, meaning that it's continuous triggering something out. And you will see it in the stripe color. So these things become this like stripe things, meaning that there's something continuously sending. It's like a water flow rather than a number. That's one shot. So actually now we can hear something likely. Anyway, I think that's it. Am I hearing something? These? That's a good question. Usually, there used to be like a headphone. Is it gone? Oops. Yeah. Well, I could ask around, but they used to put a headphone just on the station.
It's like audio interfaces.
Yeah, you just plug it in. I mean, I guess now they assume people will bring their headphone. That's kind of, or maybe got stolen. Yeah. Cool. Oh, I know why. Let me see. I need to find it. Audio status, output device. Now you hear it finally. So that's another thing that I totally forgot. So go to options and this like audio status. We don't have, output device on your station for now. I would X around to get the headphones, or if you have headphones, you can connect to those. But you have to actually specify your output device. Sort of like every time, it doesn't actually default to the one that you're using. So in this case, I have so many speakers. That's why I didn't hear the sound. So in this case,
So
or
what's the input device doesn't matter because we're not taking any.
yeah. But Mac Mini likely it doesn't. You're hearing something?
Yeah, the mini speaker works.
Where's the mini speaker then?
It is the speaker on the Mac Mini. There's like a little one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, or like the display monitor. So you hear something?
Like,
You just connect now. In this case, you don't need to. You just change the number. You will. But you have to click this thing.
frequency. What
Yeah.
what do you type for frequency?
So basically grab it here, these things, and then get like integer or float. Or you could just do F, you will get a float.
And then type int.
No. So N will get an object, but in this case you want so F will give you a float, I will give you the integer.
So you went up to the plus.
Or here.
Oh,
Yeah.
numbers and then you did just number or
You get the float. Yeah.
num?
Float now, yeah. So this is a really tricky. So usually at the end you would just like hitting shortcut. So F will give you float, I will give you integer, B will give you button, N will give you like object so that you can type in to get the object. So do cycle tilt, you get these things. You do easy deck tilt, you get these things.
How do you
And
change the number?
number change. You can you first lock it. Okay, you first lock it
How do you,
and then you click on it and then you can type.
where did you lock?
Lock it, Control E or at the bottom left. That's why Max is so
And then you
tricky. Click. Okay. Let's just get some sound, I guess. You click on this thing and then it will be yellow, right? And then you type 440. or you could just grab a digit and go up and down. You can grab different digit.
I got it.
Okay, nice. Okay, let's just try a family. You have to click this thing. Try.
Oh, I see that.
And you have to set the
Yeah.
audio. Oh, nice. Okay. We're trying.
Wait, how'd you get the piano?
The piano can be found here, this case slider. But piano actually get you the value, so it's not actually the number. So once you get the piano output, you can actually. So piano actually give you the MIDI note number, so it's not actually the frequency. You have to do some calculation. Okay, I would just check to see whether you're good. So the audio status is also something you have to first check it out. So again, whenever you open, usually you need to set this up, audio status, to get the output right. Cool. Yeah, if you're interested, like at this moment, you can think about how to turn this into like this thing. So you can actually just connect this to the cycle, but it doesn't make much sense because this is like, it doesn't really matter because these are like 65. It's not 440. So, middle C will be 440 and everything else you can sort of compute it. So technically you have to turn these things into something else rather than that. So there's actually a formula you can do it.
Wait, you just connected one of the keys to a cycle and it mapped the other numbers for you?
That's not the cycle. Well, so you can connect the key, and if you see here, it will shows the output key value. So this is the MIDI note number. So middle C, you will get 60, and this 65. Good. Is that you? No. Okay, yeah. Just try to hear some sound. You have to click these things. Oh, now this is space because it's like 59. So you can connect these things to a number. So as I said, every single thing can be input, can be output, can be visualizer, can be input control at the same time. That's a very interesting thing. So anyway, now you can control, you can actually connect this. Let's remove this for clarity. Also align them, hopefully. Cool. So get rid of these. So this is what we are seeing here. It doesn't make much sense because, now it's like 30A frequency. What does that mean? This is not the sound. That's my laptop's artifact. Or maybe it's too low. Yeah, so this is like 50. So it doesn't make much sense because it's not doing the right thing. So if you want to do it correctly, I think the correct way is, well, going off script, but anyway, whatever. So if you want to do MIDI number to frequency, the formula is sort of like I think 440 or 220 times 2 to the 12 over MIDI node number minus 60. So basically you have like C0, which is MIDI node number 60, that's 440. But you think about, the next C, not C of 0. So this would be C4 or something. C5 would be 72. This thing will be double this frequency. It will be A80. So that's sort of the formula that you can do to turn that into another number so that it make more sense. Anyway, for now, I guess just sort of like still some way to play with it. Formula, there's a lot more stuff we could do with things. Formula, you can actually, I've actually forgot exactly how to do that. But there's a lot of things that you can do with like times dot, I believe. You can do this time stop. So these things you can actually say you want to just time it with 2, 2, and you can actually times it into. This is usually the way how people do stuff. In Max, you could also there's also a way. I forgot exactly how, but there's also a way you can just write like a formula here. Um, Actually, I think it's not that tricky. I believe it's just like $1 times $2, something like that. Does it work? Anyway, I will take a look on that. But times could basically do that. You will have a 2, you will have a 67. Then this case, you could also look at what the output would be like. This case, let's do the F. You can see what this is. Okay. So you have 60. This just showed up that way. What's going on? Let me see. Left times right. Oh, we don't have a bank. That's tricky. Okay, I don't know what's going on, but it's a bit tricky. Um, Let me see what's going on. 62. I don't think this is the right thing that we are looking for, actually. Um, this way. Hmm. Usually this is the way how we do it. You can actually, yeah, I kind of forget how you can times these things. Yeah, but usually like time should just work. But anyway, there are a bunch of stuff you can do. You can even type in, $1, $2 to control the inputs and outputs. But that will require some more stuff. We will get to that soon. Anyway, you can also even take into exponential, I believe. So this is like the expression things you can, oh, that's how you do it. Times $2. What's it showing? So you can go to Max Console to see it. Isn't it this way? Anyway, I will take a look on that. I kind of forgot exactly how. But anyway, there's some way you can do exponential, do all the cosine, sine stuff. You can also plus, but usually you will also do it after the signal. So something interesting here is that, at first it's like, integer, integer, integer. But at some place, once you have this cycle tilt, it's sort of like turn this sound into like a sine wave. So what does this cycle tilde thing do is that you have like 440, this number, it will trigger like a sine wave signal of 440 hertz. So that's essentially what this thing is doing. So that's the difference between this point. At the top is all about, integer number, just like doing some calculation. Once you hit it, you get 60. You send the 60 to the cycle, and then you grab the cycle outputs. There's like two things because this is the L channel, R channel. You could also do some panning. Later we'll see. But at this case, it's basically sending the same thing to R and L. If you delete one of those, you won't hear. It will be just one channel. But it should still work. Yeah, this is not working. Cool. Anyway, let's just get this 440 here. Let's see. So there's a tiny difference because you can do the L channel and R channel. So if you hover on the audio out channel 1, audio out channel 2. So this is like L and R, basically. Cool. There's a bunch more as we just talked about, slider. This is R slider, which is a little bit different. Again, is controlling the level of the outputs. Dial basically. The only trick here is that you go up and down rather than left and right or turn it. It's actually up and down. Multi-slider is something we will also see at some point where you can actually define, SDR in a very interesting way. So imagine this is like an SDR. This is likely too low resolution, but you could think about it. Maybe this is like, or you're creating a low pass filter for your sound. This is like pick slider, but basically a XY path. There's other sliders, but these sliders are likely not for you to, you could hit it, but technically these are more for, visualizing. There's also like max for live stuff. So this is a little bit different because these things are to be sort of like put in max for live patch where you can port it into max, port it into Ableton Live so that you see these things. So they are sort of like style in a way where you will see it on, Ableton Live. So the iconic orange and light blue thing. And everything is more in the Ableton Live shape. Anyway, so this is like a sequencer. This is like a MIDI interface. There's also, different bottom, but in Ableton Live style. For these, you can actually when you do on lock and you do it here, interfaces, you will see all the live stuff. So live dot whatever, it will become something in the style of live, Ableton Live. Cool. Cool. That's basically what we have for the basics. And now we can look into one of the easy things. One thing we could do, I guess the easiest things rather than, just getting those cycle sounds out is to just play some sound. This is much easier because technically we are not generating any sounds from Max MSP. We are just grabbing some sounds. So, you could grab a bunch of sounds here. Let me see. So you can basically grab some sounds. Oh, I don't have the sounds. Anyway, in this case, I think I'm just grabbing the demo audio. So one thing you could do is go to this left panel. You see a bunch of stuff. Click on the audio. Hopefully it's the same. So here are a bunch of different sounds. You could see what will be the longer duration one. Let's find something longer. Okay, this sounds fun. Anyway, you grab it. Oh, I need to unlock it. Okay, let's try again. Well, where's the sound? Morph. Okay, let's grab it and then put it here. Don't show again. And now again, what you want to do is unlock N easy deck tailed. You get this thing. So what you can do is like just grab this and connect those. So now you can basically just create a kind of boring player, but that sort of give you the sense, this player will interact with you once you hit it. Okay, now the speaker is off. Okay, that's the sound from the other patch. which is kind of annoying. Let me turn it off. So these things actually connected together. So the only way I can get rid of those is either close this or just get rid of the connection. So if I didn't connect it, they are gone. Cool. Back to this patch. Okay, so now we can play it. It's like the basic things. But you sort of see that, the outputs now become this like railway-like stuff, the stripe one. So these are signals. So meaning that, there's multiple stuff going all the way this all the time. Sort of like all the time. So this is different from when you just connect like a number. I don't know. Like a number. So when you grab a number, this thing is actually just gray. So doesn't make much sense to connect this to the sound, but this is like gray, this is like striped. So these are two different things. This is just like one shot number flowing through it. This is like constantly some signal coming up. So that's the difference between these chords. So one thing you could do with that is that you can do a bunch of stuff already without doing stuff. Not this. Cool. So these are some of the things you could experiment with, play with. So you have a bunch of different sounds. These are all the default sounds. So you see that this is the gain controller, where you can find it here, slider. You get this gain thing, and you turn it into horizontal. So this gain thing basically take a signal, and then it will output the things that's after the gain. So now you will see one thing interesting is that by default in Max, most things is 0 to 127-ish. That's not the case for this gain thing. But anyway. So you can see that the gain will change. So usually in Max MSP, everything is sort of like MIDI world. So most of the stuff will be in 0 to 127. And in this case, 127 is sort of like the 0 dB. So it doesn't change the input sound. Anything beyond that, it will be, higher dB or decibel. So you see that the sound happening. But anything lower than that, you should be fine. But that's, typically what Max is doing. 127 is sort of like the magic number. That's because of MIDI. So what you'll see here is that, you're playing something, there's signal flow into all these different stuff. So this one is scope, this one is max scope. To get those, okay, my laptop is keep doing those stuff. Scope, tilt, then you will get this. The thing is a little bit tricky to get it work. So what you will see now is that if I connect this to this, likely it won't show up. Oh, that's nice. So usually sometimes the default is not that good. Then you have to look into what's going on with that. Then you want to click on this inspector at the right, this eye, and then you click on the stuff that you have. Then you can look into some of the things that you want to do. So buffer size is like how long you are displaying. So now you see the difference between these two. So this is like much longer, like much shorter. So buffer size is like how many sample you are visualizing. So if I do even larger, 1024, can I do 1024? Okay, we cannot do 24. So if I do 32, then this becomes like super, like just only quarter of this thing. This is like 128. Then we only do 32, then it will be something like that. Anyway, similarly, you could also do this spec scope thing. So again, unlock and spec scope. spectroscope. So there's a typo apparently. Okay, spectroscope. So that's what you'll get here. So now in the unlock mode, you have to do stuff in unlock mode. Okay, now you see what it is like. So, again, if you click this inspector thing and you click on this, you can see there's a bunch of stuff you can do. You could do enter to spectrogram. You can do also sonogram. This is basically sort of like spectrogram-ish. Spectrogram. You could also do different things anyway. Cool. So once you can see that in Max is interesting because let's pause it for a bit. So what's the difference between this and this? Three. So this is basically, if you grab this and just put it directly, so this is the original dynamic range. And then once you apply this scan, slider, it will turn it down. So 127 is like keep it as original. So now the dynamic range is much smaller than the original one. And this thing is actually in exponential or log scale. So, like in 89, you don't even you cannot even hear anything. So 127 will be about the same. And anything beyond that would be loud and it would do some clicking. Cool. So now what's more? This is pretty much the same. Cool. So this is one thing I want to just showcase, which is a little bit tricky. So there's a concept of bank in Max, which we'll see over time, which is very tricky, is that basically, the things initially when we open this up, anything is sort of like initialized to 0. Can we sort of like have it initialized to 127? So what we want to do is to have a bank. So what is a bank? So if we get a button and we connect this button to this 127, so you can think about a bank as like a bank, like a trigger, like a spark or something like that. So, if it's like 49, there's nothing happen. But if you click on this thing, it will actually trigger like a spark and go through this 127, and then it will send this 127 into this thing. So that's an important concept in Max, where these things are signals. They will constantly shooting out stuff. But these, gray lines, those are sort of like static stuff, where if there's no bank, there will be nothing computed. So in this case, it will be like connecting those and, it doesn't have any effect. This will stay 66. But once you click it, or even you just click on this is a message. If you click on this message, it will also send a bank. So, you want to trigger this thing whenever it happens. So load bank is actually a special object where it will just send a bank when you open up this, max patch. So it will automatically trigger this 127 so that it set this thing's default to 127. What else? Okay, we now see something here. So we can actually do something like this key. It's basically what I've been doing, kind of interesting. So what we can do here is that we can actually take the key input. I don't know what's going on when we are trying to do the calculation for the frequency one, but obviously it's the same thing here. So we have this key object, so and then you do key, you can get something like, this is basically like, you know, in processing, you can get the key number. So we can actually touch on A, B, C, D, E, F. So these are the ASCII code, but that's not fun. So if you click on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then you basically get these numbers. So 1, you will get 49. 2, you will get 50. 3, you will get, you know, 51. So now the idea is that can you use this key to control right? So basically that's what you can see. You know, you have a key, you can connect it to a number to show it. So that's 49. And now how you will go into do minus, you can just do this. So minus 48. So you can think about this like an object, which does basically put something in and you will minus that. And within that, there's actually two things at the top. You will see that it's like set left operand and right. So technically, you could also do something like this. You have a minus. You have just want to copy these. So you can also do, what's the number I was talking about? 49, right? 49. Actually, we could just do a message. Much easier. Cool. So this is 49. You can also put it here. So now technically, this doesn't work, kind of. Oh, I think you need a bang. That's why. Okay. Oh, I know that's essentially why the thing that we just look into doesn't work. Because basically you need to turn it into a bank. So what's happening here is that you see the color here. This is like hot. This is cold. So cold things will not trigger by default. So you want to, you know, whenever you have a key, you press, then you will also trigger this 49 to send it into. Otherwise, this thing will default to 0. So anyway, now you have 1, 2, 3 that can work. It should be 48 actually. Cool. So this is what you can do. So 1, then it will be 49. And now you do this minus 49 minus 48, you get 1. And then you can send 1 into this. So how do you even know what these things are doing? So you can actually, you know, go to this object and you can just look at this. So it will say, you know, trigger play this cues. So this is basically controlling which one to play. And, you know, look at the bottom parts, you know, the first one, channel 1. This will be channel 2. But in this case, these are all mono things. So it could do 5 channel. So these two central, you know, all the surround speakers. But in this case, these are all phono. So we just mono. So we just need to do the first one. I guess we're pretty much at the time. So let's just look at this again. We can actually do some things. So we can technically do times. But I guess the reason that previously is not working is I forgot to do this bang thing. Oh no. I want this bang to be on top of that. So I want to trigger the bang whenever there's something going on. Well, hopefully this works. Let's be loud. So we can actually see what the output would be. Okay, nice. So that's exactly why. So you can also do, you know, multiplication here, but you have to do this bang thing so that the things will be triggered into 2. So if you don't add this button here, it won't trigger the things so that turn the internal memory of the things into 2 at the right. So this thing is like take the left one and take the right one and multiply them. but if you don't have this bank, it won't set the right channel to that things. So now you can do times, you can also do a bunch of different expression to actually compute this stuff. So expression, I believe you can also do exponential, but you can actually write some expression to get it done. Cool. We'll get into more, and hopefully you see how tricky Max is, and all the time you sometimes forgot bank, sometimes you forgot harden code stuff. It's interesting, but at the same time kind of chaotic. Cool. So we will get into more next time. So today we didn't actually do any cool stuff, but next week at least we can do some MIDI keyboard playing. And now we have the keyboard so that we can sort of use our keyboard to play something or use an external keyboard. Cool. See you